Elko Newsmakers on News 10 is brought to you by Barrick Gold of North America. Learn more about Barrick, our commitment to the community, and opportunities to join our team at www.barrick.com. From the News 10 Broadcast Center, this is Elko Newsmakers.
Thanks for joining us today. We're always pleased when we can feature our local law enforcement. Today's guest is Trooper Jim Stewart with Nevada Highway Patrol, and he's a public information officer. But Trooper Stewart, you're busy doing a lot of outreach, education in our community, and you've been doing this for some time. And I hope people understand how much work you're able to accomplish.
Yeah, it's always pretty busy for me, going to high schools and the mines, and we do career fairs, and if we can get to a car show. And just recently we were at the bicycle safety rodeo fair at Spring Creek High School. So it's definitely, it's exciting. It keeps me really busy, but it's our way to get out there and do, get involved in the community. Is because I can tell you, when most people meet law enforcement, or at least the highway patrol, you're either going to crash, you're broke down, or you're getting pulled over for something, whether it's speeding or a stop sign, or maybe it's a cell phone texting thing. And so, but there's reasons why we do that. It's because we're concerned about traffic safety, because there's a lot of crashes out there and a lot of people getting killed in these car accidents. And by us going out there and doing these traffic enforcement and joining forces and click it or ticket and issuing citations or verbal warnings, it's our way to keep people from getting killed on our highways. And I said this earlier, traffic crashes is the #1 cause of death in this country, and so by going out into the community and talking to them on a different level, like at an Elko Mining Expo, or at a career fair, or at a bicycle safety fair, we can share with them the reasons why we do what we do, instead of them being afraid of getting a citation, or they're working, or we're at a crash, or somebody got injured on the highway, or whatever. So that's really rewarding for me to do that, because then they can come to me with questions and they can ask, what about this and what about that, or so it's a different way to meet the highway patrol, instead of just on a traffic stop or a crash.
Right.
So I really enjoy doing that kind of stuff, and you get to meet so many people out there that really do appreciate what law enforcement does. It's the other side of the spectrum, because usually when you meet a cop or law enforcement, half the time it's good and half the time it's maybe not so good. So it's kind of nice to see more of the good side from the community coming up, and you can put the bicycle helmets on the kids at the safety fair and hand out little stickers, and talk to them about seat belts and all that, and not just at the children level, but at the adult level too. And we take it to that level as far as back and forth to work, the safety on the highway and how we all share the roads, and speed limits, and just why it's important to have that safety goal at the end of the day, so we can get home to our families, and we're all kind of a team, because we all share the road. So it's really neat to see that. And then when people come up and say, hey, I want to be a state trooper, or I want to get into law enforcement, then we can share that with them and tell them what it's all about, because it's kind of hard to do that on a traffic stop when there's cars whizzing by you, and there's not a lot of room on the shoulder. And so it's just neat to have that different way to reach the community on the other level, where they can just come talk to us. It's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and especially in this environment nationwide with law enforcement, you guys have had even more stress. I say you guys, but obviously the profession as a whole. There are fine women employed in the Nevada Highway Patrol. I know I've met at least one woman that's patrolling, I think, locally. Mm-hmm. She's been to several events, but just the environment of law enforcement anyway, Jim, how we can better support the job that you're doing.
I've talked to quite a few people within the last few months. Obviously there's been some big major events that have happened in our country nationwide, mm-hmm. that deal with law enforcement, and I can honestly say that the majority of the people really do appreciate what we do, what we try and do out there in our community, and so things. It's unfortunate that those events happen, but in talking to these people, most of the community really likes what we do out there as far as traffic safety and you know, trying to save lives on the highway. And that's just, I wanted to share that with you guys, that it means a lot to us to hear those positive comments from the public, because it seems like a lot of times law enforcement, you know, is always in the spotlight. And of course we always will be. That's our job and our business, is to protect people and to get involved in things that we can make people safe. But when we hear that from the public, that yeah, most of them like really appreciate what we do, that's just, thank you very much for doing that.
Oh, well, absolutely, a trooper. You know, something I've learned from my daughter, who's in middle school, and she'll be in high school soon, is they had a presentation in their health class recently, which was really helpful, she said, about laws, because she said she had the feeling that maybe some students really didn't understand, like, the role of how you should behave if you're stopped for a possible driving violation, or if you're stopped while you're downtown or you're out walking with a group of friends. I mean, you are required by law to obey the police officer. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that is correct. When we stop you for, you know, whatever reason it is, whether it's speeding or, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, we need to make sure that you do have a valid driver's license, because you have to have a license to drive a car. And then we'll ask for the proof of insurance, because you're required to have insurance in your vehicle in case somebody gets in a crash, whether it's your fault or not. And then the vehicle has to be, you know, registered, and we all have to pay our registration fees, including myself. So those are the reasons why we ask for those, you know, documents, to make sure that everybody, you know, is insured and that has a valid license to drive, because we don't want people out there that don't have a driver's license, or they don't have an endorsement to, you know, ride a motorcycle, or they make sure that they have a Class A license to drive those big, huge commercial motor vehicles, the 18-wheelers out there. And that's very important, to have the proper license to, you know, to be a bus driver or to operate a big, you know, a big commercial motor vehicle. So
when you approach a vehicle, this is the other thing people don't realize, there's a certain etiquette. You're supposed to keep your hands on the wheel, right? You're not supposed to open your door. You're not supposed to get out. You shouldn't be reaching for your glove box for your registration and paperwork until the officer asks for it.
That's correct. Usually what we like to see is should you get stopped by law enforcement, you know, it's nice to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't make any like aggressive movements towards the glove box or underneath the seat, because I don't know what you're reaching for. Most people are going to want to get their registration, their insurance, but I don't know that. So when I approach the car, just, you know, you just always roll the window down so I can talk to you, so I can, you know, greet you and tell you why I'm here, and then at that point I will ask for your vehicle paperwork, registration, proof of insurance. And then I'll typically watch where the hands go. Usually it's in the glove box or the center console or up above on, you know, on the visor. But I can see where everything's at, and then it's more safe for me. It's more safe for you, and it seems the traffic stops go a lot smoother that way than someone just jumping out of the car right away. Which then you could be in traffic, and then I'm concerned about you getting run over. So we just want you to just stay inside your vehicle. And then when we come up, then we can ask you what we want to have you do for us. Another thing is, too, it doesn't happen, it still happens quite a bit. If we do pull you over, and a lot of people just want to pull over like right now. They just want to just get over on the shoulder of the road like right now. And we encourage you, we want you to pull over, but sometimes we always try and time that traffic stop where it's not on a guardrail or it's in some place safe. And believe it or not, there are some people that just stop on that guardrail, and there is no room for us to work. It's really dangerous for, you know, for us to be on a highway with, you know, on a guardrail where there's no place for us to even walk up. Even on the right side of the car there's a guardrail. So you know, try and help us out and pick a good spot, you know, off on the shoulder, or even if you happen to get stopped here, you know, in town on Idaho Street, there's a lot of places you can pull off in a parking lot, or you know, actually that would be probably where you would go, is just get off the main drag, and we're okay with that. I would rather you drive an extra 50 feet or like 100 feet to pull off Idaho Street to get to someplace safe than to just stop right there on the street, because Idaho Street gets pretty busy.
Oh,
and
certainly.
then we're both out there in traffic, and something we don't want to get hit. So that would be like another suggestion for,
Right,
for
those
us.
are good ideas. And we did just want to mention, too, some of this high-profile stuff involving law enforcement and citizens has to do with, if a citizen runs. I mean, that's what we want to make sure people understand. If you're going to run away from police, police are going to assume that there's a problem. Is that correct?
Usually, yeah, I mean, we're all, human.
But there is a
and-
Fourth Amendment that
Yeah.
protects people.
Yeah, there is. I mean, if we stop you for whatever reason, or you do run away from law
You've
enforcement,
created a reasonable suspicion.
it gives us, it would give anybody as something like, okay, something's not right here. Maybe did he just hurt somebody? Did he or she kill somebody? Did they just rob a bank and they want to get away? And so do we just let them go? Well, we can't do that, because we want to catch this bad guy if we have to. So ultimately, usually we end up finding them anyway, whether it's through our investigation or we work with other allied agencies, which we work great with here in Elko, and we'll usually catch that person who runs. If you do run, then there's charges on eluding and everything else. So you might just be better off just staying, because
Obstruction is a popular one,
because
right,
if you run and then we catch you 5 minutes later, an hour later, there's charges on that, which might have just been very simple, and now you've just had your $1,000 charge up to like $10,000 because you ran away.
Well, and we see that a lot in the arrest in Elko. I mean, it's always just a good idea to assume that police are investigating a crime. If you're asked to produce your identification, if you can just do that, and then obviously, if there's not an issue or a problem, then everybody goes along their way. Is that correct assumption?
And there's a lot of times when we'll conduct interviews for a crash or an accident, and we just want some information to help us solve this tragedy, this fatality. And once we get that information from you to help us out, you're free to go.
Right.
So it's all about working with each other to.
I think
help
it's
us solve
important
the
that,
crime.
right, these kind of conversations, Jim, we just make sure we instill in young people and young adults especially that law enforcement is an authority, and you are a sworn peace officer. You uphold the law, and if there is an issue or problem, that can be dealt with, certainly, but that as citizens, it is our responsibility,
It is, and that's what the public expects their law enforcement to do, is to take care of those incidents or those things that happen that we need to take enforcement action on. And if it means, knocking on somebody's door to get some answers, or whatever the case may be, I mean, we're there for for a reason, so we can solve a crime usually. And other than that, I mean, we just want to have people drive safe and
right. And
get
that
home to
smile
their
that
families,
you
so.
see is exactly what you're
Yeah.
going to get with Trooper
Because I mean, I
Stewart.
don't like to be stopped either.
No.
I mean, who does? Who wants to be stopped? But
Yeah.
like I said, our goal is traffic safety, and so that's why we're out here doing that stuff.
Right. Well, that segues perfectly into something you also know a lot about, and that's motorcycle safety. You and your family enjoy riding motorcycles for recreation, for
Yes.
transportation, but you also teach these safety classes?
I do. I happen to be one of the instructors for the Nevada Rider Program out here in Elko, behind the DMV office. And the motorcycle rally is just around the corner. And so we offer classes all year. I mean, throughout probably 2 or 3 times, at least probably 2-3 times a month, these motorcycle safety classes where you can get your endorsement. We do have a class that's coming up in June where if you don't have an endorsement, you can just take the class. It's a 1-day class, and you can get your endorsement. Or if you already have an endorsement, just want to take the class, you can take the class on your own motorcycle. And it's a great training program. We talk about swerves and cornering, and we do cone weaves and braking. We talk about risk management on a motorcycle. So it's really a great program for those of you that want to get your license or that already have your license and want to learn more. And we found that people that take this class are actually better car drivers too, because they learn how to manage risks and and all that stuff, and you can apply the tactics that we teach in that class, and then you can apply it to your driving on the highway. So
That's
it's
a bonus.
really neat.
You can find out NevadaWriter.com.
Yes, NevadaWriter.com.
Okay.
And it's just a website there, NevadaWriter.com, and you can
Okay.
sign up for those classes. And I know we have some openings coming up for that class in June. I think it's the weekend just before the motorcycle rally, which is a perfect time because there's a lot of people that want to, you know, they're shaking the dust off their bikes and they're getting them out. And that's a class where you can bring your own motorcycle. It's just a one-day class on a Saturday or a Sunday. I believe it's the weekend before the rally, and it's not that expensive at all, and you pretty much ride all day. And you can polish your skills on your own bike, or if you don't have an endorsement, you can get your endorsement that same day. Well, we give you a card and you go to DMV.
That's great.
But I'm telling you, it's a great program, and people really like taking those classes up here. Some people even take them once a year, actually.
Well, yeah, it's a good refresher, absolutely. So there are, we have to wear helmets in the state of Nevada.
Yes.
Yep. So
Helmets, eye protection. When you watch for motorcycles, they have one headlight, one tail light. Remember, they're only on two wheels, so there's not a lot of protection around them. So always look twice for motorcycles. Always look twice, because they're in blind spots, and if they're passing you or you're passing them, you know, they're a lot smaller. They're half the size of a car.
oh yeah, we've had a couple of, and I mean pretty good accidents, as in these motorcycles were broadsided. They were making a turn, and then a vehicle was making a turn, and that's usually what happens. They don't see each other, or the motorcyclist can't get out of the way of a big truck. So
Yeah, I think there was a crash on Idaho Street earlier.
Yes,
And yeah,
that's very unfortunate,
the people in cars and vehicles have to watch for motorcycles.
Have to, yes.
It's not always the motorcycle's fault. Sometimes it's the car's.
Absolutely.
So, you know, once again, you know, look twice for you know, motorcycles.
There are different kinds of motorcycles too. There are dual sports. There's something new called trikes, you know, in addition to the street models with the big fairings. And anything in particular that we should keep in mind about them?
I think overall, I mean, a motorcycle is a motorcycle, whether it's a trike or a dual sport. A dual sport bike obviously is one that can be on the highway or on the dirt. A street bike is more on the highway.
And they're all licensed and registered.
Yes, they are. A trike is basically a three-wheeled, you know, motorcycle. There's usually one wheel in the front and then, you know, two in the back. There are some newer ones out that have two wheels in the front and one in the back. I think one's called the Spider, and there's another one too. But so yeah, I think overall, you know, they're all classified as a motorcycle. So just watch for them because they are definitely a lot smaller than a car.
Okay. And you can also get your endorsement for those by taking the Nevada Rider class?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end of the
All right.
class, when you take the written test and the skills test, we actually give you a little card that you take to DMV, and you get your endorsement. And a lot of people like taking the class because we do all kinds of neat stuff out there.
Oh, yeah. It's good. A lot of people who are enthusiastic about riding, you get to ride with them as well. So we also want to keep in mind that there are some other new vehicles, new types of all-terrain vehicles, which there can be some confusion. It is legal to ride them on county roads, for example, but they're not allowed on state roads or highways. Razors, quads,
That's
ATVs.
correct. Like the ATVs, your Razors, the Polarises.
6x.
Yeah, if it's like on the interstate I-80, you can't ride them on I-80. You know,
Okay.
state highways like 227 and US 93, north of
Mountain
Wells,
City
Mountain City
Highway, yeah.
Highway.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's, as far as that goes, just like a reminder to the public that, yeah, it's on I-80 and those type of highways, you cannot ride those.
Or the Spring Creek Association roads.
So, I'm not sure on that.
They don't, yeah, they don't, the Homeowners Association doesn't allow it.
I believe, yeah, I think they have some dirt paths
Right.
behind. I live in Spring Creek, and there's like dirt paths behind that they don't let you ride those on.
Okay,
But, yeah.
green space. Yep, check with the Homeowners Association wherever you live to make sure what the rules are before you send someone out either on a dirt bike or or a quad or something. So something else that local law enforcement does that you're very excited to help coordinate, there are several year-round events to benefit Special Olympics. And that started with the new event this year. Well, I guess new in that it was at the pool, and it was huge turnout for the polar plunge.
I was there, and my captain pushed me in. If you guys
Yeah,
all saw
he
that, I wasn't expecting that. It was fun. We had a great time. I think we raised on the polar plunge for Special Olympics, I think it was over $12,000.
That's great.
Something like that. It was
Yes.
it was a lot of money. So I want to thank the public for that. And yeah, we usually do. There's three big events that we do for the Special Olympics within the year, and it's a law enforcement. We team up with the sheriff's department, the Elko PD. Actually, there's other agencies too that help out too.
Right. Parole and probation.
Parole and probation were there. I mean, the Nevada State Parks. I'll just say law enforcement in our county because I couldn't list them all. But we have the Polar Plunge, which was earlier this year. We have the Tip-A-Cop event, which just happened a few weeks ago, and we raised $22,300,
Wow, that's
which
great.
was great for that. And then the Cops and Burgers, which is at the Sheriff's Department, is going to be coming up here in about a month or so. So maybe just watch the paper for that. There'll be some announcements. But all the money that we raise for these Special Olympic athletes helps them get to the Reno Games in June. Helps them with their travel, with their food, with their lodging, their hotels. So it's a wonderful program to see the look on those athletes' faces when they're working with us and trying to raise extra funds for them. It's really neat to see. We're actually also going to be doing a torch run, a law enforcement torch run, which we've done for years now. If it starts at the NHP office, and we run down law enforcement, runs down Idaho Street all the way to the Sheriff's Department. And just before the Sheriff's Department, we meet all the athletes, and they actually run with us about a block or two, and they take the torch and they run it to the Sheriff's Department, and we have a big little hoorah picture, and so it's really neat.
It's a joyous time.
So yeah,
Well,
that's going to be next week if you guys want to watch us run, and I'll be in there.
Oh,
I'll be running
good.
about 4 miles. So.
Oh, wow. Well, and it's a way that you give back, but it seems like you get just as much from that experience by the look on the law enforcement
A lot of fun.
faces who participate in that. So that's really cool. So you can support Special Olympics year-round as well. And just a reminder, too, that some of the summer activities, people are going to be out there, maybe construction zones, no matter where you're driving. And even when it's a Sunday afternoon and you can't see a worker in sight, you've still got to slow down in that construction zone, right?
Yeah, they're out there. I know last year we had some pretty serious,
We've
crashes.
had another fatality already.
Fatality
I think,
last
this
year. Was it this year? Yeah.
I think it was farther along the interstate, probably closer to the Reno area, but that was
I
very
can't
tragic.
recall.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know that they're working on the Carlin tunnels right now. They're cleaning them out and doing their annual cleaning thing. And so I was through there actually yesterday, and there are some lane restrictions and some speed reductions. So watch out for those construction workers out there. And the fines are doubled in those construction zones, and rightfully so. There's workers out there. You have lane restrictions. There's equipment, but those construction zones are not that long. A mile or 2, 3 maybe, and then they're over with. So I just watch your speeds on that. They are doubled. Fines are doubled. So your $100 ticket's going to be $200 plus admin fees on top of that, and then your points in your record and everything else. So. And those construction workers, they're just out there trying to make a living like we are, and they want to go home to their families too. So just be careful and be cognizant when you're around construction zones.
Now, if you are out driving, can you still use Stewart NHP to report suspected impaired drivers? Or?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Actually, I know that's been a question that's come up a lot as far as exceptions to using the cell phone when you are driving, and there are several exceptions actually. Where you can actually talk. If your Bluetooth doesn't work or you don't have that in your vehicle, you can actually have your phone up to your ear under these exceptions, under these ones. Is if it's to report like a DUI, if it's to report a crash, maybe a wildland fire that might be along the interstate, somebody broke down, Something that's like a 911 call in nature. It's not just to call home and you know, see how your folks are doing, or you know, it has to be a 911 emergency call. And once again, like you said earlier, it's star NHP. It would be star 647. And if you don't remember that, you could always just dial 911. But if you dial star NHP, if it's on the interstate or the highway, star NHP goes straight to our dispatch center, and then we can get a trooper out there, you know, right away to help with whatever you need.
Okay.
So what did I say? DUI?
Yeah, crash, fire, broken down drivers, any kind of maybe debris in the roadway, because that happens.
Yes,
right?
that would be a
Yeah.
legitimate phone call too. About a month or so ago, actually, I was heading home from work, and I pulled a big old, like a pine tree. It looked like an old Christmas tree out of the middle of a travel lane. It was pretty big. So if you see something in the middle of the road, a tire or something that could cause a hazard to other drivers, I would encourage you to call that in too. And something else too, just when we call these things in, if there's somebody out there that's broke down on the highway, whether they are changing a tire or they're alongside the highway with their flashers on, we encourage people to call that in. Maybe they might be having a medical condition, or maybe they might need some help with a tire. Maybe their cell phone went dead, or there's no service in that area, and so they may need some help. And people just assume, oh, they're going to be okay. And sometimes when we've come across these vehicles along the shoulder road, they've been there for like 45 minutes or an hour, and we didn't even get any phone calls on it. So if you see somebody broke down, it's a simple call, star NHP or 911, to report that vehicle off the road, because they might not be able to talk on the phone. Maybe they're choking, or maybe they're having a medical condition, or maybe they're having a baby, or something could be wrong where they can't get out. Maybe their phone is dead. So we really encourage you guys out there, if you see somebody broke down or there's flashers, just call it in, and we may have already checked on it, but we may not have, so I encourage you guys to do that.
That's really good advice, Trooper Stewart. And again, know that the dispatchers are always so professional, and if they've gotten a dozen calls or no calls on it, they'll treat you just the same as they did that first caller who reported it. So never assume that somebody else has already called it in. That's really good. I'm glad you remembered to do that.
Thanks.
Well, just before we sat down, I know you were at Spring Creek High School earlier, and I hope you impressed upon them, again, the significance of safety, driving.
Yes, we talked to Spring Creek High School, the seniors, and it went very well. We talked about seat belts, distracted driving, and making good choices when they're out there before they graduate. So it went very well.
Good. We're all parents, and we want our kids to be safe, and we know it's an exciting time of year for graduates in general and their families. But please, again, and I think that's good advice, if you find yourself in a bad situation, whether it's at a party or in a car, and a lot of people have cell phones, just call someone for help, so you don't have to be in that situation.
Doesn't matter who it is. As long as you get some help coming, then it could probably save your life.
All right. Thank you so much,
You're
Trooper
welcome.
Jim
Thanks
Stewart,
for having me.
for being our guest today. We always appreciate visits from our favorite trooper from the Nevada Highway Patrol. It is hard to pick a favorite, but we appreciate you very much, Trooper Stewart. Thanks for being here.
Elko Newsmakers on News 10 is brought to you by Barrick Gold of North America. Learn more about Barrick, our commitment to the community, and opportunities to join our team at www.barrick.com.